Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome aboard. How's everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. You've made it to the halfway point. Glad to have you along and more importantly, glad to be here with you. Not because it's warmed up, but just because. It's always a pleasure. And we've made it halfway through the week. We've got plenty to talk about. Indiana basketball couldn't quite get the sweep done. Indiana football, what's old is new. And high school in the last month of the regular season. Cal Neddenriep joins us to talk about that from the Indy Star. Bill Bender from the Sporting News. And Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette as well. And there's you, most importantly. Appreciate you. And unfortunately, then you've got me. Yes, I know. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. Late game last night for those of you that were able to stay up for it. Indiana stuck around, but Lamar Wilkerson just could not get any help. He is the only player for Indiana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Out of 9 players, one that reached double figures. Now, you did have 9 different players score, but not a big deal, really, when you look across the way. And USC had 3 players in double figures and another one at 9 points. So, in essence, 4. But Arenas, Gilbert's son, 29 points, 9 of 23, 3 of 9. Did his damage at the free throw line where Indiana just got destroyed. They finished the game 13 of 16, but USC 25 of 31. And that disparity was gigantic. A lot of that must have come late because Indiana was 3 of 4 late in the game. And it's like, then the other side of the coin is the offensive rebounding, where Indiana got just destroyed again. Total rebounds, 40 to 25, they get out rebounded. But most importantly, it ended up being an 11 to 8 margin, but that is totally misrepresenting what actually went on during the game. It was like a 9 to 1 margin, 11 to 2 or something. And last I had checked, it was a 12 to nothing second chance points. Ended up being 15 to 6, but it was 12 to nothing when it all mattered. But you take those two things right there. Ball game. Either of them. Free throws where Indiana gets outshot by how many? 25 made free throws to 13. There's 12 points right there. Then the second chance points, 11. I mean, take your pick. Take your pick. But is what it is. But Indiana's just going to have to. The one thing I understand, they're undermanned and they are what they are. And I was gotten to a discussion last night with somebody about, well, that's all they do is this shoot. I go, that's how they're made, because they didn't hit the threes at the same rate as they always do. Well, guess what? When it works, it works. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. Had they had some help, Had they done a few things, had they been able to get to the free throw line, and I'm not blaming these free throws on the officials, Indiana's not getting to the free throw line. As a matter of fact, Lamar Wilkerson, 6 of 6. Reed Bailey ended up being 4 of 5. Earlier, it wasn't that late into the game where Lamar was the only one who had gone to the free throw line. And Indiana started pushing things late and created some things. They end up with only 10 turnovers, forcing USC into 15. But they've done an extraordinarily great job taking care of the ball. But the rebounding is just destroying chances to win certain games. And this is one of them. Not generally, you don't pick a specific area and say, well, this cost someone the game, because there's so many things that happen from start to finish. And just because it stands out more, it is not always the case. But in this situation, I think you can point directly at the inability for Indiana to not necessarily rebound themselves, but prevent USC from, or the opponent from getting these offensive rebounds. I mean, it was a wide margin for most of the game. It's going to be the difference. And they're a great free throw shooting team, but if you don't get to the free throw line, it doesn't really make a difference. And, 16 attempts, not close to their normal, but again, it wasn't even close to that late in the game. So a lot of that came late when they were pushing. But hey, it's not like they didn't come close. They almost swept this thing. And USC is not bottom of the barrel, and they're an NCAA tournament team. Although their metrics numbers are not great, I think that they're top 50. So it would have been a quad 1 win for Indiana. It turned out to be a quad 1 loss instead. But like I said, it could have been worse. It doesn't take much to scout. Yeah, I mean, they have not really deviated from their game plan. How's everybody doing? Appreciate you being with us on this Wednesday. Hey, if you're in and around the Bloomington area you might live here, or visiting for games and whatnot, Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games Sunday through Thursday, and a new menu and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road. And for you folks down in southern Indiana, and I'm not making fun, I'm from there, go see our good friend Dr. J, Reynolds Family Dentistry. Keep that championship smile going there in Sellersburg. Sellersburg reminds me of yesterday when Jimmy Cruz was on with us. So fortunate to have him in Campbell's Corner. We talked a lot about Steve Green, who's from Sellersburg, Bob Knight's first recruit. The one thing I forgot to ask, daggit, was about being around Jordan Hull's and J.C. Hull's, would have been J.C. Hull's dad, who was on Knight's first staff. I meant to ask that. I just forgot. But look to have him on again, man. That was so fun. It seemed like people really enjoyed that as well. Yeah, Jesse, Indiana is the easiest team to figure out. But even knowing it, well, I was going to say, even knowing what someone's going to do sometimes isn't always, you can't always stop it if they do it right. If they are doing it, I hate to use the word perfection, but as close to it. If you can do that, then you're going to put a strain on everybody else. But Lamar Wilkerson, what a huge night. 33 points, 11 of 20 shooting overall. He was 5 of 12 from behind the 3-point line, 6 of 6 at the free throw line. Huge. Tucker DeVries continues to struggle. 1 of 9 overall, 1 of 8 behind the three-point line. He pulls down 6 rebounds, has 5 assists, 5 points on the night. They've just, I know he does a lot, but they have to get scoring out of him. It's just, you can't, in this league, in the Big Ten this year, you're going to have to, you've got to have 3 guys at least. And Indiana has that in Lamar Wilkerson and normally Nick Dorn, who had been the guy, but Nick Dorn also struggled last night. Nick Dorn and Tucker DeVries combined to shoot 3 of 21 on the night. But I could go down the line. Reed Bailey was only 2 of 6. That's not enough. You've got to bang. That's another reason why he's a great free throw shooter. Why not bang that ball inside? Well, I know why, because they were getting, who was the dude, the big 8-foot guy? Daggone it. I forget his name. But anyway, man, dude was blocking a lot. Hey, let's go take a break. Dylan Sinn's going to join us next from Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Glad to have you along. Back with more right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level all up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. What's up, brother? Well, Dylan, I guess he is not quite in there just yet, so we'll get him back, hopefully. Hey, he's joined us now. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me on, as always, Jim. Appreciate it.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Indiana basketball completing their West Coast swing last night out in Los Angeles against USC, and try as they might, they could not get it done. And oddly enough, it's weird because it's not. I don't want to, bang on them a lot, because they kept hanging around and they kept giving themselves chances, but just not giving themselves chances. Even though they would get close, they were doing the same things that they weren't doing, not getting the offensive rebounds, not getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where they they just had a little bit of tired legs. I think Darren DeVries said it after the game. It was basically they were half a step slow. And Lamar Wilkerson kind of said it too, where it's a long trip, right? It is a very long trip, and they're not trying to make excuses, but it is the reality of the
Well,
Big Ten.
see,
You go
I
all the way
disagree
out
with that.
there, you
It
spend
is
a
an
week out
excuse,
there on the
though.
West Coast, and they play a double overtime game. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
And,
mean,
and I understand,
just
like,
because
you're
the
not
trip's
like
long, what does that matter?
Sure. I mean, part of it was because they played 2 overtimes on Saturday and all that. And
Oh, I forgot. I did
they're
forget about
yeah,
that.
they were half a step slow, and they kept going. Yeah, that was part of it too. And the thing is, USC was a desperate team too, I think was part of it. And USC had the freshest guy on the court in Elijah Arenas because he's only played 4 games this year, right? So they were out there. They played really hard. They needed that win as badly as Indiana needed the win over UCLA on Saturday. So I think the broadcast mentioned it several times was that USC was the more desperate team last night because it had to be. And so Indiana would have loved to have had that game. They had chances to win it. The most disappointing part was that they had chances. They were down by 7 with a minute left and would have been able to tie it had Tate Conaway hit all of his free throws. He missed a couple of them and ended up down by 2, and they had to foul. And then down 4, they couldn't get it back. So that was tough. But they did keep coming. I think to their credit, actually the ball very well. They kept coming. Like they were down by 1 in the final minute, despite Nick Dorn going 2 for 12 from 3, and Tucker DeVries going 1 for 8. That to me is the biggest takeaway, is that they were able to be in the game with those guys going a combined 3 for 20 from beyond the arc. So it wasn't the night they wanted, but it wasn't one of those nights where it's like, oh man, they just didn't have anything for them either.
No, it's amazing that they were actually in the game and had a chance to win it, with the fact that Lamar Wilkerson is the only player that went for double figures for Indiana when USC had 3 plus 1 at 9, and everybody else scoring as well. He just could not get the help. Indiana, like I said earlier, not getting to the free throw line. And the offensive rebounding, I said, everyone could always try to pick out something that stands out, but in this case, it's easy. Offensive rebounding and not getting to the free throw line, because USC shot 31 free throws to 16 for Indiana, and it wasn't because they were getting screwed. They just weren't getting to the rim. And then the offensive rebounds, it was a 12-0 second chance points bulge late in the game. And you can just take your pick on either one of those, Dylan, and you lose the game either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting. You said they weren't getting to the rim. They were getting to the rim. They just weren't going up as strong as they needed to. I think that was something Darren DeVries said after the game, was that they had a lot of looks at the rim. They just need to do a better job of going strong and drawing some of those fouls. Because there were some times where they had the ball at point blank range and they would go up, and USC had, I think, 8 blocks in that game. Like, it was really impressive what USC did in the paint to keep IU from not only scoring but also getting to the foul line. So we'll have to see whether they are able to get better at that. I think Reed Bailey especially is someone who, it kind of comes and goes from game to game, whether he's really going strong at the rim. And he did that a little bit last night. There was a stretch toward the end of the first half where he was really attacking the rim, and he did a good job. But there was also a stretch where he really struggled. So we'll have to see. That's something they need to focus on. They need to get better at. They need to just do a better job of, when they get around the rim, go up strong, right? Because that is something that USC was able to take away from them when they got in the paint, was just, hey, we're not going to let you score easily, so you better really attack, because otherwise we're going to foul you.
There you go. And Robert said, we can analyze it to death, but the truth is IU simply got beat. On to the next game. Well, no, it's not that simple. When you get beat, you have to figure out, okay, why did we lose this game? And sometimes it's pretty obvious. This case, it was pretty obvious, but it's not something that hasn't shown its self before in this rebounding. But this was a stark difference. But you said it earlier, USC, and I mentioned earlier, they're a tournament team right now. Their metrics are not as good as, say, Indiana's, but they're ahead of them in the Big Ten. They're ahead of them record-wise, and they're ahead of them head-to-head with a win over them. So they're fighting for their tournament lives as well. And Indiana's living in this dangerous position right now. If you look at the standings, they're down there in the country of who's not going to make the tournament right now. I think that they are the last team with a chance to make the tournament in the Big Ten. Everyone that's below them, Washington, Minnesota, whom they lost to, Northwestern, Rutgers, Maryland, Penn State, Oregon, these teams are not good. So Indiana is at the bottom of what is good in the Big Ten, I guess you would say, and they're the bottom of the good. They're the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th. 11 teams are not making the NCAA tournament from the Big Ten. So they're going to, you can easily see, Dylan, you look down there, Iowa, Ohio State, USC, and Indiana, and UCLA, if you want to put them, they're above that. But that group right there, they're going to fight each other. Somebody is not going to come out of that alive, meaning they're not going to make it to the NCAA tournament, at least one of those teams. And Indiana has work to make up now, even though they had things going their way with the 3 straight wins, and this was a hard-fought game. It didn't get the win, and ultimately they're going to have to now make up for it someplace else.
Yeah, I mean, that make it like we talked going into that West Coast trip that probably splitting would be okay. You'd like to get both of them, but splitting would be okay. And so now you come home, you get the split. Now you have to beat Wisconsin at home on Saturday, right? Like that becomes a really, really big game. It's another quad one opportunity. And they go in there and they need to win against a team that is very near the top of the band, right? And so they do have the good news is they do have better metrics than they've had the last couple of years. They have better metrics than I think UCLA and USC, even though obviously they lost to USC last night. They have better metrics than Ohio State, I believe. So there are teams that they have better metrics than in that bucket, right? Like you talked about. And I think you're right. I don't think the Big Ten's getting 11 in. And so they probably need to get probably somewhere around 9th, at least among the Big Ten teams, and they'll have opportunities to do so. They're going to play Wisconsin. They're going to play Ohio State coming up. They're going to play Oregon coming up as well, a team that they should be able to beat if they're playing as well as they have been. So they're going to have opportunities here. You just need to stack the wins, get 2, 10, 11 Big Ten wins here down the stretch. And they're 6-6 right now. So that means a 4-4 or 5-3 finish, depending on the teams that you beat.
Yeah, and they're going to get the opportunity, like you mentioned. They had plenty of chances coming. It's just this was one of those games that if you get that win, and I talked about this with someone last night. I said if you can win that game, you just got to par out the rest of the season. Just play par golf the rest of the season, and you're in, because they were in before yesterday's game, but they were in the last 4 in group. Now I'd say that most of them would have them just out, but they get their chance. I think they need an upset. Where does that come? You got Michigan State at home. I don't see them going to Champaign and winning. Illinois is playing pretty damn good right now. They are Michigan and Illinois 10-1 in the conference, without question, head and shoulders at the top. Nebraska, Nebraska's not even in the top 2 right now, and they've been one of the best teams of the season. Dylan, overall, they are 20-2. You've got. I mentioned this yesterday. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams in the Big Ten that still only have single-digit losses overall. And That's pretty deep. That's more than half. That's probably 60% of the conference, which that's not going to stay that way because Indiana is going to end up with double-digit losses. They're 15-8, and I don't think that they're going to finish the season with only 2 more losses. But can they get to 20 wins?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it is the same position they've been in the last couple of seasons, where if you get to 20, you're probably in, but it's going to be a tough road there. You probably the most likely scenario to me is they go into the Big Ten tournament at 19-12, and they need a win in the Big Ten tournament to really shore up their spot. Right? That to me is the most likely outcome for this season. If you kind of look at the rest of the schedule, and that's kind of the position they've been in the last couple of years, and so. We'll have to see how it goes there, but you're right. Like they still have to go to Mackey Arena and play Purdue there. Obviously, they already beat Purdue once. Can they do it again on the road? That would really help. Obviously, you talked about the game against Michigan State at home. You got to go to Illinois. That's the thing with the Big Ten is that it's so deep. You're never going to get a night off. You're never going to get one of those where it's like, well, that's an easy win. We can just kind of mark that off even before the game starts. But on the other hand, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to get big wins when you need them. Right, you're never really going to be out of the fight because if you can stack a couple of wins, regardless, you're going to feel pretty good because the quality of the wins is going to be high based on how difficult the schedule is. So it's a double-edged sword. If you win some games, you really put yourself in good position. If you don't, you're in big trouble. And so every game from here on out is huge for Indiana. And they again 10-10 is the minimum to feel like you have a shot going into the Big Ten tournament. 11-9 in Big Ten play probably gets you in. 9-11, you're probably out unless you roll through into the Big Ten championship or something like that.
Yeah, I've got him at 19 wins, and that's par. That's par golf for the rest of the year. If they get to 20 in the regular season, they're in without question because that means they're going to have to win either at Ohio State, at home against Michigan State, or at Illinois or at Purdue, which either of those 4 would be an upset win and a quad 1 win, more importantly. But the most likely would be Ohio State. But Ohio State is a team that's also going to be in that desperation mode of needing to win because they're in that group that I talked about down there with teams in the Big Ten with Indiana. So, and here's another thing that's crazy. I just looked. Okay, we've got another month of the regular season left. We just finished the freaking football season 2.5 weeks ago, Dylan. Yep. And there's only a month of basketball left.
Yeah. I mean, have you checked when the championship game for football is next year?
Yeah, I saw that. Doesn't it end like sometime in April?
Yeah. It is a week later than it was this year. So we're going to have.
I don't get what is. Well, we'll talk about that in the next segment. We'll talk about some football stuff, but yeah, put that down. End of season. They need to. I'm glad they're doing that. It needed to be longer. It needed to be. There needed to be bigger breaks without playing games because it. Although it didn't affect Indiana. I'm wondering who did it affect. But who cares? We'll talk about football next. But yeah, Indiana basketball and the Big Ten, man. The thing is that the fact that they're holding on with the team that they have, I'm a little surprised. The one thing that 3-point shooting has been something that fans had wanted to see that team do for quite some time. But I think that they need a little discipline. I saw too many times where it'll be one on whatever and up goes a 3-pointer. And I don't think that they understand the strategies of the game. There's no strategy in what the players' heads. And I don't know that they're being taught strategy as far as being aware, time, game, what's going on? What do we need a 3? Did I need to shoot a 3 right there with nobody under the basket? Just a lot of things. I just don't the discipline rebounding. Rebounding is a lot of that is effort and wanting to rebound. Teams that rebound well, it's not an accident. It's just like Indiana football. All the things they do well, it's not an accident. It's the arduous chore of trying to get teams to do those kinds of things. And there are certain things I think that this team just has a green light and they're always on go, which when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, there's no, hey, let's alter things a little bit. Let's put some I don't see any of that.
It's interesting because I think the biggest problem last night was that Nick Dorn had been so hot, right? And so you give him the green light to shoot basically whatever he wants. And he just was off last night. He had some really, really good looks that just didn't go down for him. There was a couple that rattled out for him. And it was like, he was due for a game that was not as good. And it just came in a game where they were close, and a couple of them going down would have made the difference. And so that was part of it. I do think in terms of the rebounding, they rebounded really, really well against UCLA on Saturday. I thought they really, really fought in that game, and they just didn't fight quite as much. Last night, there were some loose balls, and Darren DeVries said it after the game. There were some loose balls they just didn't quite get to. Now, they fought toward the end. They had they really, really fought down the stretch to try to get back into that game, and they did a good job. But it was a little bit too late, and so there was just a little bit off last night compared to where they had been, because they really fought against Purdue. They really fought against UCLA, and they just weren't quite there against USC. It's something that coaches talk about all the time, which is, you've never truly arrived from an effort and intensity standpoint. You can see that in rebounding. You're not going to rebound well in every single game. You're not going to be able to say, well, we know what to do now. We're going to be fine. And so they're going to need to spend these next couple of days really working on, hey, we're going to come out in that Wisconsin game. We're going to fight every single possession to get that rebound. Because that's what they were able to do against UCLA. That's why they won that game, was because they fought down the stretch every single possession for every single loose ball and came up with more of them than UCLA did. And so they can do it. It's just a question of really, really focusing on it and getting in there and scrapping for it.
USC had lost 2 games at home back-to-back, so oh well. Hey, Dylan Sinn is with us from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Covers IU, and when we come back, we're going to talk some football, including Lou Holtz. He's still alive, people. I had someone, I know his health is waning, it appears, but I had someone ask me last night, oh man, did you hear about Lou Holtz dying? I'm like, no. And he goes, you're in sports and you don't know this? And well, I found out why. I didn't know, because it's not true. But lots more coming back right after these messages. Glad to have you along for the ride. Right after this break.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming, or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette as well. And what's old is new, Dylan, for Indiana football, as Tino Sunseri, who I thought made just a horrific mistake when he left Indiana to go be the OC at UCLA. And I get moving up, but I also think sometimes you got to look ahead, and that was just not I still did not understand that move because of the situation, but it worked out fine. Indiana loses Chandler Whitmer after a season as its quarterback's coach. He's heading to the NFL and the Tampa Bay Bucks to be their quarterback's coach, which is a great sign for Indiana. But don't get too worried, people. Curt Cignetti is kind of the architect of this offense, Dylan, and he's a quarterback and a quarterback's guy. And so they've always had good quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Curt Cignetti really prides himself on is being a quarterback guy. He's developed quarterbacks over the years. He likes to talk about how basically for 5 years in a row now they've had either the Conference Player of the Year at quarterback or Curtis Rourke, who was second team All Big Ten and ninth in the Heisman Trophy voting. So he is a quarterback guy himself. Tino Sunseri did a great job developing Curtis Rourke. He did a great job over those last couple of years with Curt Cignetti at James Madison, developing multiple quarterbacks into stars at the FCS and FBS level. And honestly, losing guys to the NFL, if they're taking the same position in the NFL, if you're going from quarterbacks coach at IU to quarterbacks coach in the NFL, that's a good thing, right? Like it really, really is. You can't be upset about it because it just means that your program is successful and you're going to be able to attract top talent when that's the case. And so Sunseri is a very good quarterbacks coach. We know this, that he's someone they want to have in the program if they can. And having him back is a really big move for them. And the fact they were able to announce that or not announce it, but it was reported basically immediately, suggests they knew this was coming with Chandler Whitmer. They had Tino Sunseri ready to go. They were prepared for this. They knew it was coming, and they were able to fill the spot very quickly and not have any gap there in their recruiting or anything like that.
Yeah, and you wonder is that all now is from the staff, but they still have to hire a strength coach.
Reportedly, they were going to get Tyson Brown from UConn. I'm not sure if that's done yet. We've not gotten an official announcement about it, but that's kind of been the reporting. Who would be a great hire? UConn went from 3-9 before he got there to 9 wins each of the 2 years he was there. He has connections with Curt Cignetti as well, who tried to hire him when he was at Elon, I believe. So I do think that they have a hire in mind there. They just haven't announced it officially.
Curt Cignetti definitely keeps it in the family. And who's to blame him? Look at what it has wrought. A very successful run. You know, I said it at the open, what's old is new. Hey, what better way to add continuity to your staff? Bring on somebody that you've already spent 3 years with. And some of the players on this team might actually still even know this coach, even though he was only gone for a season. But yeah, and I think that says a lot to the players. They see this, they read this stuff, man. They know what's going on. I'm talking about recruits as well, especially guys who are either going to be in that room or in the receivers room. All of that stuff matters. And Indiana they have handled this post-national championship with aplomb. They are killing it recruiting. They're killing it in the portal, and they are making hay when the sun is beaming.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it is that these are really important weeks and months for Indiana. After you win a national championship, you get a bump in everything, right? I think people are more interested in you, coaches and players and everyone, right? Like from the transfers, from high schools, from everyone. And so you need to take advantage of that while you can. I think Indiana's done a really good job of that. Obviously, they had signed a lot of their transfer portal class for next season, even before they won the national championship. But they've done a good job of making sure those guys stick around, making sure there's no kind of like issues with any signings or anything like that. And then you go through, and they're obviously doing great work in high school recruiting as well, starting to elevate that. I think that is something that Kirsten is really focused on right now, is taking high school recruiting to the next level. Obviously, he's talked before about how he doesn't look at stars and things like that, but you want to get the most talented players that fit your system that you possibly can. And IU can now go after a more talented class of player because of the success they've had the last 2 seasons. And so we're seeing that. We've seen a lot of really talented players on campus for visits the last couple of weeks as they really try to take advantage of this national championship window and say, hey, we are the kings of college football right now. Let's go out there and act like it on the recruiting trail. And they've done a really good job of that. Like you said, basically striking while the iron's hot. And that is so important. And they have not had any kind of hangover. This coaching staff has not acted like, oh, we won the championship, we can just kind of relax for a little while. That's not what they've done. They've really, really dived in, which is great to see, which suggests to me there is staying power with this run.
Oh, absolutely. They've doubled down. And you mentioned going and getting guys. Well, half of these guys, they're not having to go get. They're being gotten. They're coming to Indiana. Nick Marsh, I guarantee you, he's like, yeah, I want some of that. And with good reason. But you look at last year's team and how well it was built position by position, and you're like, oh, wow, man, that's going to be tough to follow up. And it is going to be tough to follow up because, dang, the running backs room, gee whiz. I am such a huge fan of Kalon Black. Roman Hemby is great. They're both 1A and 1AA. And you can put either one which, but I just love watching Kalon Black run. That dude is just, you want to talk about beast mode, man? Yeah, I love it. But next year, they get Lee Beebe back, who went down early. And that looked like that was, devastating at the time. It's actually was probably a blessing because it did two things. You maintain him for another year. A, B, you get Kobe Martin some time. And now he's going to be part of this three-headed monster with Turbo Richard. Can you wait to hear, or we won't be able to, we don't get to hear it, but Don Fisher, whoever takes the snap, hands off to Turbo Richard, and he hits the Turbo Jets. But obviously doesn't sound as good as Don Fisher, but that meant to be fun. But every room, I mentioned the wide receiver room, you've got Charlie Becker back and Nick Marsh added to that. And Davion Chandler, and they're looking at landing some other key guys. Tight end, Nick Marsh. I'm wrong one there. Sorry about that. Brock Scott. They bring in his shot rather. Yeah, Marge's son.
Yeah, that's right. He's from the Northeast Indiana area. He's from Leo, so really, really impressive player. Guy who was actually a two-way star at Leo. He had like 20 tackles for loss as a defensive end his senior year as well. Really, really talented player. And bringing him home from Miami is a really big coup for them. Also, don't forget at wide receiver, you get Tyler Morris back. That was a big piece for them this year. He got hurt in spring practice and wasn't able to play. But coming in from Michigan, he was a guy who had a lot of success at Michigan. And so getting him to be your slot guy is really, really important. So that was why they had to go get Jonathan Brady from Cal in the spring spring portal window, was because Tyler Morris had gotten hurt, but now you get Morris back. He's a really good slot guy for them. And then you get Marsh and Becker on the outside, obviously. In terms of Turbo Richard, my favorite Turbo Richard stat is that Boston College he played for Boston College last year. They averaged 3.2 yards per carry as a team. He ran for 5.2 yards per carry. Like it's so far above what anyone else on that team was able to do, just because the offensive line was not good at Boston College. It was quite bad.
And the defenses had to be keying on him.
Absolutely, because they were not throwing the ball over the yard either. And so, yeah, absolutely. He was the number one guy in the scouting report, and he was just ripping off 5 yards a carry anyway. Just really, really impressive. And so that's the kind of guy you want in Indiana. That three-headed monster, like you said, of Richard, of Beebe, of Martin, that's really impressive. And it's the type of room they had this year as well.
Yeah, and speaking of which, you look directly, the position you look at there is offensive line. And once again, Indiana pretty set. Carter Smith at left tackle with Drew Evans at left guard, Bray Lynch at center, Joe Bruner from Wisconsin, big 6'3", 300 and whatever pound uh, beef eating, grain fed Wisconsin offensive lineman. And then Amendola Ajani, who played as a freshman in the national championship, comes back as a sophomore. That's a pretty damn good offensive line right there. Now you've got to get through it, of course, health wise, but starting out, not bad.
Not at all. I mean, that's four starters back from this year, right? If you want continuity, and I think that is something that we've talked about on this show, but I think people nationally are not really aware that IU is getting 12 or 13 starters back from his championship team, right? Like they're not. It's not one of those things where they're losing everybody and they need to totally reset through the portal. No, that's not what happened. They're getting a fair amount of starters back. A lot of them along the offensive and defensive lines, and so. They're going to have a really good foundation in the trenches, especially on offense, where, like you said, four starters back. Bruner is a huge pickup from the portal, guy who was really good at Wisconsin, a really experienced guy, the type of guy that they want to get out of the portal. I mean, that left side with Smith and Evans, that is one of the best left side of the offensive line that you're going to see in college football next year. Really experienced, really tough, really strong. Absolutely outstanding. And then the question mark is, and I think they can answer it positively, is does Johnny take that next step, right? Because he was okay as a freshman. If there was a weak link on the offense, it was that right side of the offensive line. But he was
and to be fair, again, we're talking about a freshman here,
right?
Going against guys that are going to be playing in the NFL this year.
Absolutely. And so you just need him to take that sophomore leap, be there as a third-year guy in the program. He's a redshirt freshman, so third-year guy in the program. Take that leap where you're getting into being a really solid guy. And if he does, you feel really, really good about where that offensive line is going into the next season with the weapons they have, the quarterback they have. It's an offense that doesn't really look like it has a weak link right now. If a Johnny is even pretty good, let alone taking a major leap.
One place where they're still strong, but they are going to need some depth is on the defensive line, where they have starters back again. The defensive tackle, Tyreek Tucker and Mario Landino, both back. Again, starters Mario Landino, I don't think he started out as a starter, but through attrition, ended up being that, but ended up playing a huge role in the CFP run. But those two are back on the line. And so if Indiana can continue to do the job developing guys like they have, they're going to be just fine, because you also have guys on at the end that will be back. Daniel Ndukwe, Joshua Burnham, and Chidi Obizor.
Yes. Yeah. They did a really good job. Like, you could tell that they felt that defensive end was the position they really needed to shore up the most, because obviously you get Ndukwe back, but you lose Mikhail Kamara, you lose Stephen Daly, you lose Kellen Wyatt. So they went out and got three guys from the transfer portal on the defensive end who have been significant contributors before. Joshua Burnham from Notre Dame was not exactly a starter, but he was basically like right in that rotation. Very, very good player, very strong, very fast, will help Indiana significantly next year. And then you got both of the guys from Kansas State who were both very good players for the Wildcats, including, like you said, Chidi Obiezor. So IU has answers there at defensive end. And then you talked about Landino and Tucker. It's interesting, and this is kind of how it works in the transfer portal era. IU lost James Carpenter and they lost CJ West from the 2024 teams. They loaded up at defensive tackle last offseason in the portal. They went and got Hosea Wheeler from Western Kentucky. They went and got Dominic Ratcliffe from Texas State. And they got Tyreek Tucker back. And they didn't think Landino was not supposed to start for them. He just kind of won that job. He beat out Hosea Wheeler and he beat out Dominic Ratcliffe because he was just better than them. He did a really good job in fall camp and in the early part of the season, and he won the job. And that's what you want, is you bring these guys in from the portal, but if you have a guy in-house that beats them out, That's great. That is exactly what you want, and it's what IU got at defensive tackle. They did a really good job of Mario Landino, and now they have two more years of him because he was, I think, a redshirt freshman or a true sophomore last year. So, man, it is really impressive what they've done along the defensive line to shore up what could have been a weak spot, and it just wasn't this season. And in fact, it was a strength and could very well be next year as well.
Yeah, and speaking of Landino and Hosea Wheeler ended up transferring out. Instead of fighting for a position again on a team that he ended up going to Baylor. So, and I'm sure he got paid quite nicely. You go to any team in Texas, you're getting paid. I promise you. But hey, looking forward to it and looking forward to seeing how it all continues to shape up. The recruiting is going extraordinarily well. They've got some spots they're going to have to replace, and we've got plenty of time to talk about this. Is the good thing or the bad thing? I mean, I'm ready to start football season over again, man. It's sure a lot more fun covering a winter. I can tell you that. This is why the SEC and those people had those shows going for so long, and now they don't know what to do. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? The SEC fans are, and this would be a great meme to put up, are at the end of the movie The Truman Show, when the Truman Show ends and they don't know what to do with themselves. That's SEC fans right now. What do we do? We're nobody. Yeah, they're lost, brother. What's up next for you?
Yeah, I mean, I will be in Bloomington on Saturday. Looking forward to that. IU Wisconsin should be a huge game, and obviously following along with Purdue as we go through the season as well. So just kind of really diving into basketball now. That is the biggest thing, is that it is full go for basketball finally. Now that the football season has come to an end, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, Purdue is they're going to end up finishing in the upper part of the conference as expected. But I just don't see them having the talent to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. I think that if a team like Indiana exposed them, and they were beaten in different ways. Illinois went there and beat them with a freshman scoring 46. You're not going to see that very often. But they're a good team, but they're just not good enough. I don't think. I don't know, other than Michigan and Illinois, I don't know that there's a team in the Big Ten that's really looked national champion kind of caliber, although there are a lot of good teams, don't get me wrong. But there's a difference between being really good and being at that, and Michigan and Illinois are definitely there. And Illinois, having a freshman come out of nowhere like that, whoo, that'll make you sleep well at night.
Absolutely. And I think Michigan State could get there. I think Michigan State with Fears at point guard, he's just so dynamic. I think they could get hot and make a run. I would put them, like you said, a step below Michigan and Illinois, but I think they could make a run if things come together for them like they often do for Tom Izzo teams in March.
Yeah, and don't forget about Nebraska. That's right. I did.
That's true.
It's so easy to forget about them. Damn. I mean, here they've been the story all season long, but they're in third place in the Big Ten. That's how damn good the Big Ten is. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Make sure you give him a follow. He's one of our all-around contributors. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me on, as always.
We're back with plenty more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games Sunday through Thursday, plus a new menu and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
You're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area? You need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch your teams on the big screen and level it all up with the high-flying human crane. Private game suites and more, only at 731 South College Ball Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along for the ride. You've made it halfway. And, hey, man, it's going to actually warm up at some times this week. Today's not that day. But, yeah, we're not even hit 36 yesterday. Not happening today. 27. Tomorrow, 28. And then jumps up to 39, but back down, 37, 38. Hey, on the horizon, Monday. Hello, 52 degrees, lows of 33, followed by 56 and 35. Some of this snow might actually melt, man. All right, oh yeah. You're looking ahead. Beginning on Sunday, it gets up to 38, and then next Monday, it into the 50s, and then it to the 40s, which is more than fine. Snow will start to go away. Great to look at, but all right, I've seen enough of it. You can go. You've done enough. Looking forward to Bill Bender joining us today on the program as well. We'll talk college football and the big game coming up this weekend, Super Bowl. It is New England is the underdog, which is kind of wild, but I'm trying to think how many times in the Super Bowl, but I'd have to look it all up because they played in so damn many. But how many times would they have been the freaking underdog? I'm sure early on in that run, maybe, but not very many times. So that's unusual, but just for them to get there. And then speaking of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, after Bill Belichick was ceremoniously not inducted into the Hall of Fame on his first time around, Robert Kraft also not taken in his first time around. So we'll talk about that later. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Been a minute, brother. How you doing?
Hey, doing well, Jim. How are you?
Relaxed. I was talking to Dylan Sinn earlier, and I started thinking, I'm like, damn, the high school basketball season is in the last month of the regular season, but we're only 1 month away of the college basketball's regular season ending. There's only a month left. We just finished the football season 2.5 weeks ago, Kyle.
It's crazy what happens when football season goes on and on and on and on, isn't it? I saw somebody had a sign at the USC game last night, said, sorry, we're late. Football ran late or something to that effect.
Yeah. The funny thing is, ESPN was trying, or whoever, Peacock, whatever, was trying to show this sign, and this dude was trying to get a picture of her or something. I'm like, well, they would sure like for you to get out of the damn way so they can see that sign. And they finally came back to it. But yeah. And speaking of Indiana's success, I know that recruiting is not quite the same as it used to be, but recruiting is still important, and it's important to people like Kurt Signetti, and they are killing it right now in having guys in. They've had big weekends, and it continues. And several of the guys, one of the guys they're waiting on is the wide receiver, of course, from Lawrence North, who could possibly follow in the footsteps of Omar Cooper Jr. and Davion Chandler and become Indiana's first 5-star recruit ever.
Yeah, that's the hope, I think, for IU fans. And I did talk to Manchin about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, about IU and just about his recruiting in general. And, IU definitely is a part of that, part of that process. I think having, obviously Omar is not going to be there, much longer, but, having that connection, he's familiar, and definitely he's friends with Davion Chandler. So there's a good connection there. The school to watch out for is Alabama, and they, he lived in Alabama at one time. He's, so he's got a connection there. I don't know if that's it ultimately comes down to that, but I do know there's a good connection there, and he's being recruited by, all of the blue blood teams that you would expect. So, he's going to have he does have a good, group of schools that he's going to be picking from. But yeah, it's a big, and I think it might be, getting a commitment from him, no matter what he does in college, which he's going to be a good player in college, obviously, but it would almost signify something if they could get him and get him over some of these other teams that they normally lose to in recruiting, in the past however long. So, but yeah, I mean, it'll be, I know he's planning to get things cut down and kind of get down to business. And then, he's a guy that he's not going to be rushed into having to make a decision early, like some are, but, I would imagine he will, at least get things cut down and then, make that, decision sometime before the start of the season. But he does, it's going to be interesting to see what he ends up doing. But Alabama, IU, I think there's definitely a lot of schools, Ohio State, Miami, that are in this mix for him.
Yeah, and no doubt. I mean, that's usually the case. We see it happen when anytime where it's Caden Curry or any of the top ranked players that are offered that are if they're a 5-star, they're going to get offered by everybody because that's who goes after those guys. And that's not something Indiana's never had or landed a 5-star player. And we're making a little bit of a deal about it. But then all we talked about the previous season was how they're built on the opposite of that they're built on development, talent, and development, and having an eye for the right guys with the right fits. But at the end of the day, if you're bringing in some 5-stars, you're bringing in guys that are generally just more athletic, and doesn't guarantee something, but it usually gives you a better place to start from.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, and IU has always been a school that in-state kids have liked. And, it's been but to see it flip like this where you're winning and also, kids want to go there. I mean, it changes the whole viewpoint on everything. Now the transfer portal, obviously, as you mentioned, you're not recruiting high school players maybe like you once did because of the portal, but you still want to get these top guys, and they're in the mix for a lot. I mean, Mason McDermott from Noblesville is another one, offensive lineman. Mason Oglesby from New Pal. He's definitely has IU high on his list, if not the highest on his list. There's so they're even beyond Sales, who is a 5-star. There are quite a few, 4-star players and 3-stars that I think would fit, what IU wants. And, Caleb Elkins from Warren Central's defensive back's another one, has IU high on his list. Brandon Sharp out of Brownsburg, receiver, who I think is going to be really good in college as well. And he's starting to get, I know Alabama had, is looking, talking to him now. But I think IU has a head start on him. Jace Brewer from Franklin Central is another one. He has a pretty wide range of schools after him. So there's a lot of really good players in this class that, it's a very deep class, and it has high end talent too. It's a fun class to cover. Having covered a lot of these guys have been playing already for at least 1 year, if not two, at a pretty high level. So it's a really good class, and I think if you can get a few of these guys, it would certainly signify something for IU.
Oh, without question, no doubt about that. And it's funny how we see guys though that like Brock Schott, who was at Miami. Obviously, you're at the U. You're obviously a high-ranking player, but coming back home, and an Indiana kid, we've seen this before. They go away, but Zen Mikowski from on the offensive line from Floyd Central went to Ohio State. Played on the national championship last year. So guys can, sometimes the grass looks greener, and I understand. And now you're like, oh, wait a minute. The backyard looks pretty nice and manicured right now.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see. I mean, I know signing day today has taken a huge step, backwards, because, most of these kids all commit in the December signing period now. I would say almost 100% of them. There's a few out there I know around the country. We don't have any big ones today. There's some, smaller schools, and, good to see those guys get a chance to play somewhere too. I mean, that's the majority of the kids I cover are that grouping. But yeah, some of the high level kids, that's kind of taking a chunk out of today's signing day. But now you can kind of look forward, I would say, to what happens next. And, there's a lot with the coaches going out to these schools and talking to kids. You kind of get a better sense, I think, of maybe what the recruitment looks like for some of these guys. And they can kind of, they are taking visits already, and, kind of getting a sense of what's what. So, I think for a lot of these guys, it's going to, these next couple months, I mean, there could be some commitments, and, things happen and or at least probably narrowed down some of their schools as well. So, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, it'll be fun to see what the dominoes end up falling in this class.
Yeah, and it's not that I think that Indiana is poor. They're still not in the top tier of NIL. They're not one of the Texas schools. They're not Ohio State or anyone like that. So or Alabama for that matter. So when it comes to trying to land a guy like daggone it, who were we just talking about from Lawrence North? Damn it.
Snails.
Yeah. Can they lose this? Do they lose out money wise? To a freshman, I can see that being a lot more likely than once they play. They're in the, they're like, oh hell, I can make close to this and play more or win or do something different. The transfer portal gives that opportunity, but it also, if it wasn't there, maybe it changes decisions.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, right? I mean, you're especially for a 5-star receiver, those guys you don't just run into those guys on the street. So you're going to that's part of this battle is what you can offer them, and maybe Alabama can offer more, and maybe it's a better fit overall. Who knows what it ends up coming down to? But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's you want to stay in good, I know I've talked about this before, but you want to keep things in good standing with recruits now too. You don't want to burn bridges, because who knows what happens a year from now, or not a year from now, but a year after the season. And, and it's sort of a situation where, you want to be in good standing. Maybe you get a commitment the next year after they go to somewhere and it doesn't work out, and maybe you can get him later. I'm not saying that's the case here necessarily, but it could be for anyone. So you want to keep those relationships solid and not go off the rails when they commit somewhere else, because you don't know in this world, things change year by year.
Yeah. And I've been really surprised Purdue is still able to land some big time players in certain positions. And I'm like, wow, how are they? Because I don't think that they're also not big in NIL, even much less so than Indiana is. But I'm like, are they spending way more on certain players and not as much on others? Because they, like I said, they've been able to pull some guys in, and I'm like, damn, why would that guy of that caliber want to go play for a team that's not successful at the moment?
Yeah, and we don't know all the details. I mean, it's hard to know because there's not the salaries aren't out there, so it's hard to, things that you hear certainly, but not, you don't know. It's kind of like the pieces of a puzzle that you don't fully understand. So, but I do, from things you do, I think there's prioritizing for whatever school you're at as far as like, hey, we need this position and we're going to throw our money at this position. And a lot of times that's quarterbacks, obviously. But I think, if you're deficient somewhere, maybe that's where you throw your money to, and then you kind of hope to develop at some other position, like offensive line. That's probably a position you're trying to develop with high school kids largely, and then supplement the portal where you can. But I would say, to me, if I was putting together a team, defensive line, I would throw my money there. Quarterback, I'd throw my money there. And then if I can get a superstar receiver, I would do that. So, that's kind of, I think, where it starts. And then you try to develop your offensive line and some of your other defensive positions. But, to me, if you could get defensive linemen that are the best high profile players, I mean, that's where I would start and then work from there. But yeah, I think it's partly just, and it's opportunity. Purdue can offer opportunity to play. So that's part of it also, and I think that's appealing to some people.
Indiana basketball recruiting for the state, and not Indiana University, Indiana as a whole. Is this, I hate to call it a weaker class. It sounds disingenuous, but, Luke Ertl, obviously, probably the best player in the state. Mr. Basketball probably has that one wrapped up. But has anybody kind of stepped up to challenge him this season?
Yeah, there's two players I would say. Noah Smith from Plainfield, who's going to DePaul. DePaul did a really nice job recruiting him. Jack Owens, who has connections, obviously. He's from Indianapolis. He coached at Purdue. He's Miami of Ohio. He coached as head coach. But he was definitely in on Noah, I think, when some others weren't. And, I thought Noah might get Purdue or IU or somebody to get in the mix for him. They didn't. And he went to DePaul. And he's having a great year for Plainfield this season. His efficiency's off the charts. Plainfield's 16-1. To me, he should be in the conversation with Luke Ertl. I think Luke, like you said, I think, going into the year, it was kind of like, well, this is Luke's to lose, and I don't think he's obviously done nothing to lose it for sure. But I think it's a disservice not to say Noah Smith's in that conversation. I also think Dikembe Shaw from Crown Point, who's maybe not he's going to Illinois, Chicago, but their team, they were undefeated up until last weekend. Gary 21st not handled them, but they beat them on Saturday. And, so that was their first loss of the year, but he's really having a good year too. Very efficient player. So those three, I would say would be, and I think also Caldwell from Silver Creek, who's going to Richmond. He's a really good player too. Silver Creek's more of just a balanced team to a large extent. They score a ton of points, and they are really, really good. And they beat that was Plainfield's only loss. So, but I think if you're looking for another one, maybe he's one that you put in the mix. But yeah, Ertl's numbers are crazy. I mean, he's won at a high level. It seems like every big game they play, he's some doing crazy stuff to help them to a win. So it's hard to go against him. But I'm always kind of I veer to the side of like keeping an open mind. And to me, Noah Smith, I don't know what he's doing about all you can possibly do, and he's just a really solid offensive player, sweet shooting, hits the mid range. He can hit threes. He's 6'8", 6'9", so he's got size to him too. So really having an outstanding year for that Plainfield team.
Yeah, and it's great to see because we like to see guys that spread the wealth.
To your point, though, you were saying it's kind of a down year. I would say, yeah, I would agree. This senior class, sorry I didn't answer your question, but yeah, I think it's a little bit down from definitely from last year. And honestly, and I don't mean to sound negative when I say this, but overall, I think this year is not as strong of a year in high school basketball just because we lost. I mean, last year's class was really, really outstanding. It was a deep class, one of the deepest classes I've covered, the 2025 class. And so a lot of teams aren't as good. There are teams who are better, but even like Ertl's team, they are, he's making up for a lot of deficiencies just because of how good he is. That team last year was actually probably better overall than this year's team, but there are a lot of teams that just aren't as, I see a lot of the teams that I cover, and obviously exceptions, and it's still a good year, and there's a lot of good teams out there, and some teams have improved, but overall, I would say it's just slightly down from last year as far as the highest level of basketball, but that's partly because that class last year was so good, and this year's class is just not as deep.
And it's, I don't know, is it just me or does it seem like Jason Gardner Jr. is like a sixth-year high school player and he's just a junior? Guy's going to be around for a stinking another year. I saw him talking about a recent unofficial visit to Indiana. And I mean, does anybody get him away from Arizona? His dad's an assistant coach there, played there. I can't, and they're number one in the country right now. I can't see. I know that Darren DeVries and that staff, Indiana staff, has made him a priority. And I remember, as a matter of fact, as soon as the staff had their first event, the games that the high school games that they had at Cook Hall last year, when Fishers was playing, Darren was standing under the basket directly under the basket against. So anytime he came and went to the basket, he's looking right at Darren DeVries' face.
That's a Tom Izzo move. That's smart. Yeah, I think Jason's, hopefully he's back. It should be really soon here. I have to check on that to see for sure, but I think he's going to be back here shortly, playing again. He's missed a lot of time here with that
broken hand, right?
Broken bone. Yeah. So
is it a shooting hand?
Yeah. I think no, it's actually his left hand. So yeah, he should be back. It would be right around now. So I would expect him back soon. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him back on the court. Yeah, it's his left hand. Yeah, it's his left hand. So he'll be, I think even the worst comes to worst, you can wrap it up and he could, play one-handed, so to speak. But yeah, I think he's, it'll be, I don't know. I mean, he's always said that, Arizona's not a slam dunk, and that he's keeping everything open minded. Yeah,
but if it doesn't say that, nobody else is going to recruit him.
Yeah. So, but, you take him at his word. And I think, he's got a lot of good options out there, but yeah, man, he's so fun to watch. That's kind of another kind of disappointment this year is he just hasn't been able to play a lot. So that's kind of taken, but Fishers is still not lost even without him.
Keep winning.
It's 48 regular season games in a row now, which is, considering the schedule they play, that is just ridiculous. So, kudos to them for being ready night in, night out. Carmel almost got them on Saturday. They won by 3. So that'll be a knockdown drag out in the sectional, most likely. Carmel's very good and they can compete with Fishers. So they're one of the few teams out there that can, though. I would say, if they can get through the sectional and then, you're probably looking at it, potentially Crown Point down the road. Again, Crown Point keeps running into them in the semi-state. This maybe could be the year that they could do it. We'll see about that. But yeah, it's pretty incredible. Now they're going to get Gardner back. So you're adding one of the best players in the country back to your lineup.
What's up next for you, brother?
It's girls sectional week, so I'm helping out kind of on the back end with that, and I'll be going out to a game on Saturday for the girls, but also going to a couple boys games this week. Ben Davis plays Pike. Should be fun tomorrow night. See what that's a potential sectional preview as well, and then I haven't figured out yet for certain on Saturday afternoon. Probably going to afternoon game and then covering a girls game that night. So, but yeah, we're getting down to it, man. It's that week weird week of the girls section where the boys games are Thursday night and Saturday afternoon. So that usually tells you you're getting pretty late into the season.
Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. If you're not keeping up with him, you don't know what's going on in high school sports in Indiana. That's no doubt. Appreciate you as always, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your week.
You bet. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. We've got more coming up. Bill Bender from the Sporting News is going to join us. Plenty more happening here. Back with it right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level it up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. On this Wednesday, you made it to the halfway point. It's all downhill from here. It's going to start getting warmer. If you're enjoying the snow, start taking pictures. It's not going anywhere fast, but it's going to be going away as the temperatures will be rising for February. Love to see that. That's not, we don't see that very often, but we'll take it. It's so funny. They had a Groundhog Day marathon not too long ago. It was on Groundhog Day, I guess, which was just the other day. It's been so long since I even watched that movie. I just said, oh, why not? Let's go ahead and watch it. It's kind of funny. But I love Bill Murray. Big Bill Murray fan. Hey, for those of you following along on social, hit the like button, please. Thank you very much. Takes so little time, so little effort. Indiana basketball back at home this weekend after their West Coast swing, taking on Wisconsin, who is playing well. I mean, that would be a quad one win, I believe, if they can get that job done. Indiana football recruiting we've been talking about as well. And high school basketball entering the last month of the regular season. So Tino Sunseri brought in as quarterbacks coach for Indiana after Chandler Whitmer is heading to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be their quarterbacks coach. And I'm surprised that was all that they lost. Chandler Whitmer and the strength coach. And there was talk of at least one other position coach that may be leaving for an elevated position. I don't think that's come to fruition,
But that position, ironically, is still not been filled at this particular team. So it just makes you go, But that's that. In the rest of the world of sports, big game coming up this weekend, the Super Bowl. What do you got plans? You got people coming over. You making stuff. What is your favorite thing to make? Favorite thing to eat for Super Bowl? I don't really care. I'll be honest with you. I just love all. If there's a Mexican dip, I'm in. I'm in. Big 7-layer Mexican dip. I try to make some of that stuff in the crock pot sometimes, and it doesn't always go well. But you keep on rolling. Indiana, speaking of their recruiting class, basketball, Trevor Manhurst, who is a 2027 class, but he's going to move to the 2026 class. Number 71st rated player overall. Von Corvala, new rivals ranking at the 74th player overall. And Prince Alexander Moody is now the number 92nd player overall. Did not have a previous ranking. Is now the number 43 shooting guard. Yeah, there you go. So a good recruiting class as far as that goes. Let's take a break. Or did I already do that? Yeah, I think I did. Bill Bender with us. I think I already took a break. Bill, I can't keep up with myself today, man. How's your day going?
Yeah, that was quick in. I was like, I have 2 minutes to sit here and look at my phone while we have to take a break. No, it's great to be on with you, Jim. How you doing?
Cannot complain. It's always great when I get to see you. Unfortunately, it's not like it had been in a little bit warmer environments, but going to get that way here soon. Looks like February's not going to be too bad.
I'll tell you what, it's been depressing, and I don't know if we're in the same part of the country. So it's been 10 days of just staring at snow outside that hasn't melted. And we've shoveled the driveway and reshoveled the driveway. Last week was, and coming out of the national championship game just a couple weeks ago, last week the kids were home all week from school. And it got testier each day with, all four of us in the house all week. So, but we got through it. The kids are back in school and excited to get going here.
It wouldn't be a day if there was not a lawsuit against the NCAA to talk about. Joey Aguiar, the former UCLA quarterback, Tennessee quarterback, has been granted a temporary restraining order against the NCAA's eligibility rules, which, I'm not sure how they can, other than their own precedents that the NCAA has made, how someone can say, well, nah, you can't do that. Well, why can't I? It's our freaking organization.
Well, they're going to continue to do this until the court rules against the player. Right? Like
it's got to go federal because the biggest issue, I think, is state by state by state. We got the Alabama deal with the judge who's a freaking Alabama booster.
Right. But yeah, Bediako, by the way, averaged 11 points and 5 rebounds in those first 3 games. I mean, if he can help the team win, they're going to find a way to do it. And, the debate we've been having over the last couple of weeks at Sporting News is what's going to stop a player from, not only we're doing this 6th year of eligibility or 7th year or whatever year we're trying to do, which I think the solution to that you and I have talked about would be, I think you just give college athletes 5 years. That's the rule we should make. You have 5 years of eligibility. You are not getting redshirted. You get 5 seasons. You're a super senior in the 5th one. If you get hurt and you have to redshirt, I mean, that's one of your 5 years. And with the exception of maybe medical hardship waiver or something like that, we're not going to award a 6th year often. And I know we had to do some of this because of COVID, and I understand that. But I don't know, Jim. I kind of land on you have 5 seasons to do what you need to do at the college level.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the only thing that I think that they can do now that we've had this all the JUCO years deal about that. And again, I'm like, why are we having some of the same arguments over and over when it comes to the JUCO thing? Hasn't that been decided? I mean, it should be pretty black and white.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know where you land on it, but I think it's going to be a turnoff for the common fan, right? Like you and I talked a lot about how Indiana had an old roster, but it was an old roster that was within the rules, right? You had guys from transfer portal. They took advantage of their eligibility. Yes, they had 21 and 22 and 23-year-old guys, but that used to be football. You just got beat by a senior heavy team. And now I think that's something to keep in mind. What I was getting at earlier, I wanted to run this one by you. What happens when we have a 7th round draft pick, go to fall camp, doesn't think he's going to make the NFL roster? He's like, man, I still have a year of eligibility left in college. What's stopping that kid from doing that next? I think that's the next one that we're going to have happen.
Well, and what drives me nuts is the argument they're going to be irreparably harmed. Well, no, the people who are irreparably harmed are the players who played right before you did when and they didn't get paid a nickel and all of that. So it's just the irreparably harmed thing. I'm like, dude, take what you got, be grateful and enjoy it. And then there's the instance of teams bringing in these freaking G League and now NBA players, henceforth mentioned Alabama already. And the president of the NCAA made the statement that the teams that are doing this are trying to play by a different set of rules than everybody else. And on one hand, I agree with it. On the other hand, I'm like, well, until you stop it, they're going to do it.
Well, and agents are no longer it's like the movie Blue Chips from years ago. Once they were in bed with an agent.
How far ahead of the future was that movie?
Oh my gosh. Like you go back and I watched that I think it was last Selection Sunday. I got through all my work and I'm like, I'm still awake, throw on Blue Chips. And I said the exact same thing. I'm like, wow, that's something. That's something. Oh, look, there's Nick Nolte, and Nick Nolte just yelling at the players was always funny. But and the point shaving part too, by the way. That also was very timely. But I think as far the point I'm making about agents is when you used to sign with one or you were caught with one, so to speak, you were done. Your eligibility was done, but now college players have them. I get emails from agents that are kind of pushing for their players to be interviewed or, for their podcast or trying to promote these athletes.
Oh, yes. And if you're on the beat, though, and you try to get these guys, good luck. And if you did it without permission, oh, boy, that hand gets slapped.
It's horrible for us, isn't it? And again, I'm not trying to be a whiny writer, but you have to respect the school. And then and these guys are trying to get their players promoted. I can only imagine, what they're telling these kids about. Well, we're going to challenge that so you can play. I think Trinidad Chambliss's case is a little bit different because there's, they're trying to pass off as a medical issue. I understand that. But Bediako and even Joey Aguilar, I mean, is this what we're going to do? And like I said, I think you bring up a great point. Until this goes federal, we're going to continue. You and I are going to continue having this conversation over and over and over again because I think the players, in most cases, are going to win.
Yeah, because what judge in his right mind who was a booster for a school thought that it was okay for him to rule on a ruling that directly affected a school which he supports sports-wise? I mean, the judges are not even being open about it. I'm like, dude, get out of here. It's just, you got to get it out of the states. Too many different laws. So it's.
Do you think the judges know the difference between, in most cases, because some judges might not know anything about sports, right? Like,
I think that a lot of the time is the case.
Do you think the judges know what we know about the difference between college athletics and professional sports when, let's be honest, the lines have blurred a little bit?
I don't think that I think that they look at it as
especially in the Alabama case. I don't know what the hell they're looking at because the dude played in NBA games.
Right.
Played in. Not was just sitting on a bench. Played in. What are we doing? I mean, wow. You want to talk about hiring an agent and getting to come back. This is not hiring an agent. This is walking onto an NBA floor.
Right.
Yeah. So, and any judge that thinks that that's okay, I'm like, what is wrong with you?
When I find myself agreeing with John Calipari on every point that he makes, we're in a bizarro world for sure. But I mean, John knows, you could say John's doing this out of self-interest. No, John and these older coaches, they know what's best for the sport.
I agree, but I find it funny when guys who were on the other end of certain things prior to start chirping, Nick Saban is a great example. I mean, I have nothing but respect, and I think he is probably the greatest college football coach ever. No doubt about that. But I also think that Alabama cheated their ass off during that run, and that's what the SEC did. And it doesn't matter. But it's a fact. I mean, gee whiz. I mean, it's not like that this is any secret. But when those guys start, it's like, oh, well, you're getting beat at your own game now.
Yep. Yeah. And, Nick Saban for sure. Like there's that. I always said it was always an eye roll when he would say stuff like that because, you're not hurting at Alabama exactly with your endless line of first round and NFL draft picks. But in his analyst life, he does make some salient points about what's good and what should be good for the sport. I've always thought if they had a commissioner, he would be on that short list of guys. Though when you talk about commissioners of college football, it's guys like David Cutcliffe, like the ultimate good guy that you have to have in that spot. It's
doesn't have a lot of baggage.
Well, it's confusing times. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, Jim, is I don't know if you saw the calendar yesterday that somebody said, so Josh Pate tweeted that the midpoint of the college football season next year, from beginning of the season to the middle to this January 25th national championship game, the midpoint is November 11th.
That's perfect. Let's take a quick break and we'll switch to football, and we'll bring up it's going to end a week later than it did because there's not enough of a break. We got more coming up. Bill Bender from the Sporting News is with us. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Back with more right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Jim Coyle with you. As always, appreciate you joining us midway through the week. Bill Bender from the Sporting News and college football. Man, just what we wanted. It wasn't a long enough season. Earlier I talked, Bill, we're only 1 month left of the college basketball regular season. We just finished college football 2.5 weeks ago. Can you Bill lost his there you go. You back?
Yeah, I was here the whole time. I lost you there for a second.
Okay.
But calendar wise, you're right. And when I tell this to my friends, they say, you're whining, you're a sports writer, stop whining. But I think I'm not even thinking about it from our end. I'm thinking about it from a college athlete's end. You think about, you're basically now doing a 12-month job. I just think the layoff is the one that gets me. The layoff was very obvious with the these 1 seeds, the teams that gets the buys other than Indiana. Everybody else is lost in the last 2 years. I think having 2 weeks between a quarterfinal and a semifinal is ridiculous. I think ending the season on January 25th is too much. We needed to compress the playoff instead of expanding it. The calendar, not the number of teams. And I think college football missed an opportunity here coming off Indiana's national championship run, which 30 plus million people watched. It created a lot of excitement. I compared it to, and I know, Mike DeCourcy, my colleague, I compared this with him. I said, NC State won the national championship in '83. The tournament expanded 2 years later, and it really took off when it went to 64. I think college football missed an opportunity here to expand to 16 and compress the playoff schedule.
Well, that falls firmly at the feet of the Big Ten because they're flexing right now because they can. I don't know what their ultimate goal is the thing. This 24 team crap that Tony Petitti, I'm like, come on, stop with that. What is the point? What are you trying to accomplish? I don't know what the Big Ten is actually trying to accomplish. The SEC they're kind of, they're at the behest of the Big Ten at the moment, and they don't have an argument for a lot of anything, but I don't know. What is the Big Ten's goal, I guess, is the biggest question.
Yeah, I don't understand the 24 team thing. Now, some would argue, well, FCS does that, and Division III and Division II, but I love Division III football. We have a huge presence in Ohio with Division III football, obviously. But I don't think people watch that on the level I know they don't watch it on the level that we watch Big Ten football and SEC football. I've always thought 16 was the right number. If we're going to expand, I'm actually a guy that would have liked to seen 8, because I think 8, you have 3 compelling rounds, and we've turned this into the NCAA basketball tournament. And you know how much I love basketball too. I don't like to talk when we're like, let's go to 136 teams in the NCAA basketball tournament. Why would I want to watch that? I always said, as somebody that still uses a printer, the bracket's got to fit on one hand. I don't want to print landscape printing across the, and try to 2-page the bracket. I only need it on one hand.
And I will argue on one side, there are not 12 teams that I think can win the national championship. I just don't think there's that many that are that good. So, 16 is fine. Definitely does not need to be more than 16. And even if they go to 16, all that, half that, or part of that's going to be to placate the people who demand that the group of 6 or whatever gets their representation, which I find to be a farce. They're not good enough, but how do we always know that? We don't.
Well,
but
here's one thing too. And one of your common listeners, Brian S. Guitars, what a name. He said, he's saying that maybe, or one of these comments in here that said something to the effect of, we don't know if the NCAA basketball tournament will be as dramatic this year. I would disagree. I actually think this year's NCAA basketball tournament is going to be better than the college football playoff because of the number of teams that I believe can win the national championship. You get what I'm saying?
What is that number?
Oh my gosh. I did our first bracketology at Sporting News this week, and I was telling Mike, I'm like, Arizona, there's about 4 Big Ten teams. Duke, you go all the way down through the SEC. They've got good teams. Like Florida could still make a run. I'm taking this all the way down to the 4 seed and saying, yep, that team could win a national championship. Gonzaga.
Besides in the Big Ten, besides Michigan, besides Michigan State, besides Illinois, who's that 4th team?
Maybe Purdue, maybe Nebraska, but let's see. Right? Like,
I'd see Nebraska, but I mean, every time I say Purdue is they think, oh, it's because you're. I mean, no, I don't care.
I think Nebraska could make a Final Four run. I don't know if they could make a national championship run. I like the way they move the basketball, but to your point, those top 3, you just learn by years of experiences not to count Michigan State out.
Oh, exactly.
Coaching
matters.
Michigan's got 9 guys that can put the ball in the basket. 9 that average 8 or more. I mean, when you have that much scoring and that, I described them when watching them a few times this year with my son. I said, I don't know who their starters are because they have that many guys that can put the ball in the basket. And then Illinois is very good. So
they've gotten and they have really come on as a team, especially partly because of Wagner, the freshman, who has really ramped it up. And when you're getting that kind of production from a freshman.
UConn, forgot about them. Gonzaga. I mean, we've got what should be a very, very compelling tournament. But to your listener's point, just because there are more teams in college basketball that can win it doesn't mean the college football playoff can't be more compelling. And I think on any given year, I always say, and we've talked about this a little bit, I think in any given year, there's 5 to 6 teams that can win the national championship in football. This year, I was probably about right. But Miami kind of flew in the face of that by making a national championship run. But early in the season, we were talking about them like that. I remember being in September after they won their first
Notre Dame
game.
did that kind of same thing last year, though. They weren't the team that anyone thought was going to be at the final game.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you got toward the playoff, and then when you broke down the playoff field, I probably said on this show, I said, who do I think can win the national championship? I probably said, I'm guessing if you look back at the files, it said Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia. And then I was probably like, I'm not so sure about anybody else. Maybe Oregon.
But you were and amongst the majority of us. So I didn't see Miami coming. I didn't think they were disciplined enough to get there, but I also didn't see Georgia losing to Ole Miss.
Right. And then Miami making the run that they did in the fact I didn't see Miami beating Ohio State, which they did. So I guess those are the surprises of it. It's not a perfect sport, but it's fun. And when you get to 24, I think the big question will be, for example, when I'm circling games for next year and the Big Ten schedule came out, I said, don't know if I said this to you, that Indiana-Ohio State game will be as big a regular season game as we ever see in Big Ten in the last 10 years when Ohio State comes to Indiana. Because if Indiana wins, you could really start talking about a changing of the guard. Like, I know Indiana's the defending national champs. Ohio State's this program. If Indiana beats them again, but then you're like, well, they might play again in the playoff. So what are we doing? You know what I mean? So I do think the more teams we add, the less it does devalue the regular season. I love the regular season in college basketball, but what's the knock on March Madness, Jim? It's only 1 month a year we care about it, which is unfortunate and it's untrue. But if you're a casual basketball fan, that's probably the case.
Certainly is. Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Make sure you're keeping up with his content at the nation's oldest sporting publication. Appreciate you as always, my friends.
Hey, check in again soon. Thanks so much, Jim. I'll talk to you.
Thank you, buddy. Bill Bender joining us, and big thanks to everybody else on the program today. Dylan Sinn, Kyle Neddenriep, most importantly, each and every one of you. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.